Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and today I'll be working with the Fawn Lights Out stamp and die set, and I'm going to actually create a light up card using the Chibitronics intro light set. So in this set you get some I think it's 3 lights in total. You get a bulldog clip, which I guess is useful for the little sample projects that they have in the kit, and the other key item that you get is the copper, I guess it's sort of a conductive tape that you can use to build your circuit. So I'm stamping out 3 light bulbs on this panel here, and I was trying to figure out the spacing that I wanted and how many light bulbs I could actually fit. I thought maybe I could fit 5, but I think that would have been too tight of a squeeze. So I stuck with just 3, and I'm going to make the middle light bulb light up. So this is actually the first time that I've used the Chibitronics light set, and so I was really surprised that it's actually pretty simple to create. And of course I'm making a really simple card, so so that's part of it, is to keep your design simple as well. And what I'm gonna do is actually have a vellum backer to the aperture that I cut out. So this way, these lights are actually really super bright. So you probably want to use something like a vellum to block out or screen that light a little bit. But I wonder if making just like a pinprick hole would allow sufficient light to come through. So it's something that I think I want to play with a little bit more. I was surprised for such a small little light component, which you'll see in a bit, how bright it was. But what I'm going to do is stamp out with some Versamark ink that same light bulb design, because when you use the coordinating dies to cut it out, it will actually cut out a small, it'll leave a nice small white border around the line image. And so I want to stamp that that line image back in once this vellum is behind the aperture. And I wanted to just experiment with some different colors. So here I've got a silver, that was the first one, first embossing powder that I used. I've got a mix that is from Wow, which I think is champagne. I'll link to everything in the description box below. And then the last one is a glow in the dark, which is very subtle in daylight, but I thought that it might be an interesting feature for when the card is actually, you know, at night and it's dark out, that it'll still glow a little bit even without pushing the button to light up. So I wanted to give myself some options to play with, and not have to go through the whole stamping and embossing step again if I didn't like my first choice. So this is what the intro kit looks like. It's it comes in this really nice packaging that has some, I think 3 or 4 sample projects that you can, probably 3 because there are 3 lights, but they look like this, and they describe exactly how to build your circuit, and so there's nice step-by-step photographic instructions with diagrams and everything. But the gist of it is that your battery, which I forgot to mention is included, has one side that's a positive and the other side is negative. And when you build your circuit, your each light also has a positive and a negative end to it. So the longer side of the triangle is the positive end, and the tip of the triangle is your negative end. So what I did was I have this extra panel where it's cut to be a little bit smaller than the panel that I stamped onto. And I've traced out my aperture so I know exactly where my light bulb will be. And I've just cut this piece of scrap folded, it's a folded piece of cardstock, and that's going to be the little sort of folder that's going to hold my battery. And I'm just positioning where I want to place my light, and I'm going to draw the circuit so that it matches up with where my battery will be. So the positive side will go down because, as I mentioned, with the light, that little triangle piece, the bottom wider piece is the positive end. And I'm going to glue this folder down, but when I put my battery in this little pocket here, it's just going to float. It's actually not glued down. And I think if you design your cards so that people can get access to the battery, then you can possibly change out the battery if they wanted to keep it and play with it, and also swap out the battery once the battery dies. But I end up fully enclosing the battery into the card, so you can kind of design this however you like. But basically, I'm running a strip of this copper tape from where it's going to touch or make contact with the light. And the way that I've positioned things, I just need to run that straight down into my folder, which is where it will make contact with the positive end of the battery. Then I'm going to position this again, and I keep on checking and double checking, my positive and my negatives. But I'm going to do the same thing on the negative side now. So making sure that these two ends of this copper tape do not touch. So I don't want the positive and the negative circuits to touch, but I do need it to be close enough so that when I adhere down the light, that this positive or this negative track that I'm adhering down here will make contact with the negative end of the light. And you can bend and fold this tape. I'm doing a terrible job of it here, but it is possible to do. And it'll still make contact with, or it'll still conduct the electricity. So you just want to work it so that it makes a path or a trail to your to the negative side of your folder, your battery folder. And I like to burnish this down as I go so that it is nice and flat and makes really good contact with the paper underneath. And so this is going to go straight up to this side of the folder, and it needs to wrap around to the inside of the folder because it does need to make contact with the battery itself. So I've wrapped it all the way to the inside of the folder here. And then our battery will sit right there. And so once you've got your circuit built, you can adhere your light to it. This does have a adhesive on the back already, and there's a brown paper liner that you just need to peel off. And I thought I would need my tweezers to attach to this, but it's actually large enough to hold in your hand and get that placed down. And make sure, so you saw there it didn't light up, but that's because I just needed to push down a little bit more firmly so that the light made really good contact with the copper tape, the electrical tape. And so I'm going to burnish down on this circuit here, the light, just to really make sure that it's well stuck down, it's making good contact. I'm not being super aggressive with that because I don't want to break anything that's in there. I just want to make sure that it's firmly stuck down. And the key to this is that you want to create enough height around your battery so that in the kind of default position, the top of this folder won't touch the battery. So basically that means that I'll be putting foam tape around this panel that is essentially higher or thicker than the battery itself. That way, there's some extra room there, and so if you're not explicitly pushing down on top of the panel that's going to sit on top of this, then the little battery folder there actually won't close down far enough to complete the circuit and actually make the light turn on. And so I like to just preview it by putting the top panel that I've stamped onto right on top of there to just check if this is thick enough. And it turned out to not be. Well, it was kind of hit or miss. Sometimes it would make sort of casual contact, but I want it to, as much as possible, not make any contact until you explicitly push down on it. So that's why I'm adding an extra layer of foam, but this one is slightly thinner than the first layer that I put down. I have a lot of these foam rolls that come in kits and things like that, and so I don't explicitly try to keep a lot of thicknesses on hand, but I just happen to have. So whatever you have and however many layers you need to kind of stack up, really the goal is just to get this high enough so that it's thicker, and when you put your panel on top, it doesn't push down on that top portion of the battery folder. And so now that I know how thick it needs to be, I'm going to add some additional foam strips to the center. Partly because I am not gluing down my battery at all. And so it's going to float in there, but I don't want it to leave its sort of designated area, because then it might get lost within this panel. So I'm putting enough foam around it so that battery stays there. You could glue it down, but to be honest, because this was the first time I'm creating one of these cards, I wasn't sure if you have to use a special type of adhesive or tape or what in order to not have it disrupt the circuit or create any sort of fire hazard or anything like that. So I just wanted to kind of leave the battery as loose as possible and not to risk anything with using the wrong types of adhesive with it. So that's something that, if you happen to know, let me know in the comments, if it's safe to glue down batteries like this. But in any case, all I'm trying to do with this foam on the inside is to create this nice contained area for the battery, and to kind of level off the panel here so that I don't get kind of saggy parts to this top panel. But you can see how bright this is when it lights up. And so the reason why I'm peeling back a little bit of this is because some of that copper tape went into kind of the fold of this little battery folder here, and that was making occasional contact with the battery. So I felt, peeling that back a little bit made this work a little bit better. And so that's really all it takes to create the circuit and the light up mechanism, which I think is super, super fun. And I still have this copper tape left, the little sample roll that comes in the kit, but as well, you can find this on Amazon if you look for it. And Chibitronics also has kits that are larger, that I think have more lights in them, and as well, I think you can buy the lights, packs of, just the light if you just need that. And so there's lots of different options for buying more of these supplies if you like to make these light up cards. And I think I'm gonna actually play around with more light up style cards. But to finish this one off, I did also stamp onto some silver pearlescent card, and I'm cutting out just the bottom portion where the metal would be, to block out the light from that area. And I'll glue this to the back of the light bulb, and I think this just makes it's a small detail that you could probably skip, but I feel like it makes it a little bit more realistic so that the light is only coming through the bulb area. And I decided to go with the embossed version that actually has more of a white glittery finish, and I think that works nicely with this card because there's so much white, and that makes this center light bulb stand out a little bit better. So once I've got that, I originally was thinking that the black matte layer I planned for this panel, I was going to put that black matte layer behind the panel that has the circuitry. But when I sort of previewed the light, it's such a bright light that when you push it, it actually makes it so that you, with just one layer of cardstock, you can actually see all of the internal workings of the circuitry. And so that's why I decided to line up the light bulb die so that I can actually put this black matte layer behind this stamped panel. And with 2 layers of cardstock and one of them being black, that helps to actually block out the light much better, so that when you do turn on this card, the light really does only show through the vellum, and it doesn't make it so that you can actually see all of the guts and messy insides of the circuit. So so that's something to bear in mind if you are creating these light up cards, that this light is so bright that it if you just have it going through one layer of cardstock, it's possible to see all of that circuitry once it glows. But just adding a second layer or black matte to it really helps. Whether you want the matte border or not, I would maybe recommend doubling up on your cardstock for that top layer. And so I'm going to peel off all of the paper liners on my foam tape, and then I'm going to add some liquid adhesive, because that's just a little bit of insurance. So if I need to kind of wiggle this around a little bit, I can. And I'm going to do my best to center this on this panel. It's not going to be seen anyways, but I just want to make sure that where the light is lined up with where my light bulb aperture is. And that's pretty much my card almost complete. Now I just need to glue down this whole unit, and I'm gonna use some liquid adhesive too, because this is kind of a heavy unit with all of that foam, the battery, and all of that. And I want to make sure that it has a nice permanent firm stick. So here is my final card. First time ever making a light up card. Look how bright that is. I think it's super fun, and I definitely want to do more of these and explore different ways to build the circuit. I know there's lots of different brands out there, but these Chibitronic sets are super easy. So hopefully you like this card, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. And if you want to catch new videos as I publish them, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing the notification bell. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.